Alright guys, got a 10-minute game against a player rated 945, and looks like they're going for a King's Indian attack. But putting the bishop there is going to be a little problematic. Let's bring out the knight, attack this pawn. Okay, it's defended. Be nice to attack the pawn again. Could play d4 now, but that will open up his bishop. I want to keep that bishop useless if I can. So let's bring out the other knight. Now controlling the whole centre. Alright, knight to here. So the knight can't proceed forwards that way. I think it's time to bring out my bishop, I think to there. The king's going to castle here. My bishop's now in line with the king, which means this pawn is pinned. I'll castle as well. Right, so I can play d5 if I wish. Takes. Play d6 now. Maybe bring my bishop out to here, pin the knight. Now if he kicks my bishop, that's taking away the only defender of this pawn. Okay, I'm just going to drop my bishop back. All the knights now can't make good forward progress. And this one's pinned on the queen. That's pinned. I haven't done anything clever so far. Right, he's pinned my bishop. What do we want to do? Should we kick? Don't see any harm in kicking. Alright, we have an exchange. Fair enough. This pawn's still pinned, that knight's still pinned. The knight's now not pinned. Okay. Pretty solid game so far. I think my main pawn break is going to be the f pawn. So I'm just going to move my queen here. I could always remove this defending bishop. Okay, now he wants to trap my bishop. So if the pawn moves forward, I've only got there and it's attacked twice. And only defended by the knight, so I'm going to have to play a6. I could also actually remove the pawn. Right, now the knight is... where's it going? It's got nowhere to go from there. Okay, I think I'm going to drop my knight in here now. If knight takes, I can recapture with the bishop, put the bishop on a nice outpost. So outpost means it's got no pawn that can dislodge it. Okay, right. Attacking the pawn, let's just push the pawn. I can also drop the bishop back now if I need to. My opponent's playing pretty well. He's only used 1 minute of his time as well. Should I attack the queen? Okay, he wants to take out my bishop, eh? Can't play that because it drops this pawn. Bring my bishop back here, so if he wants to take with the knight, I recapture with the b pawn. Then I've got rook to b8, attacking the queen and the pawn behind it. Also gives me an extra pawn, reinforcing the centre. This bishop's still looking bad because of that first move. Alright, so the opponent's attacking this pawn now. Let's drop the queen back and defend. My queen is defended by the bishop, my queen is defending the bishop. How about this? Queen can only go here, I think. But then, bishop here. Does that trap her? I believe it does. So because of that pawn push. So I think queen takes rook is the only option here. So desperado capture. When you know you're going to lose material. And so you say to yourself, well, what's the most that I can, what's the best compensation that I can get? So here I'm up a queen for a rook, which is nice. This pawn's undefended, undefended. Okay, I'm just going to recapture. So I've got doubled isolated pawns on the c-file, but I'm well up in material. Okay. Not worried about the rook coming to the back rank, so I think I'm going to move my queen here, attack this pawn. Still two undefended pawns. Yeah, that's not a surprise. Queen here. Can't push this pawn because that would be undefended. Thinking maybe I want to get my king to here and guard the open file. Also then it might allow me to put my rook there, trade rooks. But it's not over yet. My bishop is also looking quite bad. So does he want to come here? What's the idea with that? It's not too much of a problem if he does actually. Okay, or should I? Let's take. Now he wants to push this pawn and attack the rook here. So if he pushes, that's only one threat. I'm going to centralise my king. I'm anticipating this. I can't move my rook straight to there because rook takes. Okay, right. Okay, bishop comes back here. Now he can drop his rook in there, but I've got king e7. Right, now he's attacking the rook and I only have one square. Pretty good play so far actually. I'm attacking the rook, he's got to retreat. He could go here or here. Queen and rook are defending each other. It's called coordination. This pawn's hanging, but yeah, my rook's actually defended, so I can actually capture that pawn. A bit bleary-eyed this morning, not really woken up. Oh, alrighty, haha. Now he can't put his rook there. I'm going to take out this pawn and then offer to trade rooks. That's just a blunder. Okay, so now we're up a whole queen. He's got 6 minutes left on the clock. Should have taken a little bit more time over his moves. So my queen's got a couple of ways in. Shouldn't be too difficult to tidy up some of these pawns now. Okay, he's disconnected. Looks like the end. So let's do a quick review. See if he comes back. I'm not expecting him to. Okay, so e4, e5. Now this is slightly odd. Okay. So we've abandoned, okay. So this whole approach with the pawn on e4, I'm not sure that's the right way to go. So let's have a look at the Explorer and see how popular is g3 here. been played 47 times at the master level, and black wins 40% against 28% for white. Yet it seemed like a poor move. And now d6 is the most common reply by black. Yeah, so black doesn't want to remove this pawn, because if white's going to do this, castle that way, this pawn is always going to be a problem for him. So okay, let's go back to the game. And yeah, that was a surprise. So immediately I came out on move 2, knight to here, attacking the undefended pawn. So white defends, just bring out another knight. When you've got both knights out on their natural squares, they control the whole centre of the board. Knight out here, now that's actually blocking in the queen. Develop bishop, prepare to castle. Okay, and I've put my bishop on this natural square, looking at the potentially sensitive f2. So before white castles, this is an immediate target. The f-pawns are defended only by the kings at the start of the game. Right, but after white castles, then the rook's defending that pawn as well as the king. However, the king is now on here, and so this square for the bishop serves another purpose, because it's in line with the king pinning this pawn. So let's see how it goes. Now the pawn is pinned. Now this pawn cannot legally move, which is why I like the 4th rank, or 5th rank if you're black. Okay, so it's all pretty solid so far. Not sure about these knight moves to here. So the knights aren't making great progress. They're only covering 2 of the central squares, whereas my knights are covering all 4 of the central squares. Can't draw arrows today. Plus this queen's blocked in, plus the bishop's blocked in. So already on move 7, in order to complete development, white's going to have to move one of these pieces to let the queen out, and one of these pieces to let the bishop out. So this knight move doesn't really help his development. So he's going to be 1, 2, 3 moves at the very least to get all of his pieces out into the board. Whereas I'm only 2 moves away from completing development. I've got to get my queen and my bishop off the back rank. So out comes the bishop. Now I'm only 1 move away from development. 8 moves is the shortest time that you can get complete development, right? Because you have to move 2 pawns, which I've done. That releases both bishops. The knights can come out anyway. Okay, so pawn, pawn, knight, knight, bishop, bishop, queen off the back rank, and castle, right? That's 8 moves. So now, knight moves to here. Now I could complete development now just by moving my queen, and that's on move 8, which is the quickest I can do it. But in this instance, I decide to save my bishop. I don't really want to be capturing towards the outside with my d-pawn. Now we kick, and now we trade. So this leaves white with only 1 bishop, but 2 knights. Okay. Now this baffled me, this particular move. Yeah, when the knight was defended twice on that square, and it's got no future here. It simply can't proceed, other than to go back to the square it came from. So that was a confusing move. Now we have a trade of knights, and I improve my bishop, and it's on this outpost, which means it's here. There are no pawns on the c file or the e file that can disturb that bishop. So that bishop is there unless it gets attacked by a piece. Queen attacks pawn, push pawn. Knight comes to attack the bishop. Drop the bishop back, attack the queen, and we trade. But this is slightly preferable because I've captured with my b pawn towards the centre, and it comes with an attack on the queen. Queen drops down to hit the pawn, queen defends. Now the pawn comes in. This is what white missed. This is a blunder by white. But even without that pawn push, right? So even here, if you just played something else like moving a rook out, then I think he'd have still ended up with a trapped queen. You've got to be very careful. If you are leaving only 1 rank or file available, got to watch out for these rooks. Okay, queen can't go there, can only go here now. That's what she does, and now the bishop drops back and the queen's gone. And from that point on, the game is relatively straightforward. Not sure about this move either. Leaves him with a third pawn island. He's got 2 pawn islands here. That's one, and that's the other. So these pawns can all, in theory, defend each other, defend their neighbours. But with this, now he has 3 pawn islands. 1, 2, and a third one here. Right, 3 pawn islands. That makes it harder to defend in the endgame. Start to centralise the king. Not really a major attack on the bishop. I think he's having a go here. And now I grab the pawn, right? Because these 2 pawns together can cause trouble. Plus, they're removing all 4 of these squares from my king. So there are dangers here. So if I didn't have my light squared bishop, that would actually be checkmate, because of these 2 pawns side by side. So I take out this pawn, and there we have a blunder. It's not checkmate anyway. I mean, I can always move my king to here, but he now drops a rook. So now he's well behind. Okay, interesting one, but fascinating queen trap in that one for you guys. So hope you've enjoyed that one. Hope you've picked up 1 or 2 things. Thanks for watching. See you later.